The lights of the America's Got Talent stage shimmered like a galaxy of 1,000 tiny suns, casting golden beams across the vast auditorium. The crowd buzzed with energy, an ocean of faces, murmuring, laughing, holding up banners for their favorite acts. The judges sat in their grand seats, each one a symbol of destiny for the hopefuls who stepped into that spotlight. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, already wearing his skeptical half-frown. Sofia Vergara tapped her pen on the desk with excitement, while Heidi Klum whispered something that made Howie Mandel chuckle. And then, the stage manager's voice boomed softly through the speakers. Next, from the Philippines, a young boy from Davao City. A hush fell. From the corner of the stage, a small figure emerged. He couldn't have been more than 12 or 13, skinny arms peeking out of a jacket slightly too big for him, hair neatly combed, and eyes darting nervously between the judges and the vast audience. For a second, the crowd didn't cheer, they didn't clap, there was only curiosity. Could someone so small really command such a gigantic stage? The boy stepped into the center circle of light. His sneakers squeaked softly on the polished floor as he adjusted the microphone stand to his height. He swallowed hard, fingers trembling as he gripped the metal pole. You could almost see his heart pounding through his chest. The cameras zoomed in close, capturing every flicker of anxiety on his face. Simon leaned forward. "Hello. What's your name?" The boy's voice cracked slightly at first, but he steadied it. My name is Adrian, I'm from Davao City, Philippines." A murmur swept through the audience, from the Philippines. Some nodded, already intrigued. Howie smiled warmly. "And how old are you, Adrian?" 13. His reply was small, but clear. Simon tilted his head. "What are you going to do for us today?" Adrian's throat tightened, but he answered with quiet confidence. I'm going to sing. It's a Coldplay medley that I made myself." The word Coldplay immediately triggered whispers in the crowd. That was no small choice. Coldplay wasn't just any band, they were legends, known for songs that millions around the world held close to their hearts. For a boy to attempt them, especially on a stage this massive, seemed almost reckless. Simon's eyebrows rose. A Coldplay medley. Interesting. His tone carried both curiosity and doubt. Why Coldplay? Adrian looked down at the stage floor for a second, searching for courage, before raising his eyes again. Because their songs, they heal people. Back home, when times were hard, I would sing their music for my family. It gave us hope. And now, I want to give that hope to everyone here. For the first time since he stepped onto the stage, his voice didn't shake. The camera panned to the judges. Heidi nodded, impressed by his honesty. Sofia clutched her chest as if touched. Even Simon's expression softened a fraction, just a flicker, but enough to show he was listening. The stage lights dimmed lower. The audience quieted. You could hear the faint hum of the microphone as Adrian took a deep breath. From backstage, his parents peeked out, clutching each other's hands. His mother's eyes glistened with tears even before he sang a note. His father whispered something in Tagalog, a quiet prayer for his son's courage. The music started, soft piano chords, delicate like raindrops on glass. Adrian closed his eyes, and for a brief moment, he wasn't in front of thousands of strangers, cameras, or celebrity judges. He was back home in Davao City, sitting by the small window of his family's modest home, singing for his mother as she cooked, singing for his father as he came home weary from work. That memory wrapped around him like a shield, steadying his breath. When he opened his eyes again, the nerves had shifted into something else, determination. The judges leaned closer. The crowd held its breath. And Adrian raised the microphone, ready to begin. At that instant, the boy from Davao City was no longer just a nervous teenager. He was a storyteller about to share the soundtrack of his life, one Coldplay note at a time. The energy in the room shifted. A collective silence filled the air, heavy with anticipation. Everyone could feel it, the spark of something extraordinary about to unfold. The boy smiled faintly, took one final breath, and let the first note escape his lips. The first note that left Adrian's lips floated into the massive auditorium like a whisper of light. It was soft, fragile, almost trembling, but it carried an undeniable purity. His voice wrapped itself around the opening line of, "Fix you," gentle, delicate, yet piercing enough to silence thousands. At first, the audience leaned forward uncertainly, unsure of what to expect. But then, like the rising of the sun, Adrian's tone grew steadier, fuller. His voice wasn't just singing Coldplay, it was reshaping it, threading his own soul into every word. The piano chords swelled, and the boy's timid exterior began to melt away. Every syllable carried emotion, not rehearsed or mechanical, but raw and unfiltered. His falsetto rose like the flutter of angel wings, fragile yet powerful, and the audience gasped. Some placed their hands over their mouths in shock. The camera cut to Simon Cowell, whose brow furrowed, but this time it wasn't skepticism, it was focus. He was listening intently, almost studying the boy as though trying to solve a mystery. Adrian transitioned into the scientist, but not in its original form. He had arranged it so the tempo slowed, then swelled with sudden bursts of intensity. He mixed melodies, weaving lines from Viva la Vida into the chorus, creating an unexpected harmony that no one saw coming. It was daring, ambitious, something seasoned performers would hesitate to try. Yet here was a 13-year-old boy from Davao City, owning the risk without flinching. By the time he reached the chorus of Viva la Vida, the energy of the room shifted completely. His voice soared, filling every corner of the auditorium. People in the front row were already standing, clapping in rhythm, swept away by the momentum of his performance. The boy's small frame seemed to vanish, replaced by the presence of a star who knew how to command a stage. The cameras panned across the judges' table. Vida's eyes sparkled, her mouth slightly open in awe. Sophia pressed her hands against her heart, visibly moved. Howie leaned back in his chair, shaking his head as if to say, "I can't believe this." But the most telling reaction came from Simon. His lips parted slightly, and for the first time in the night, he smiled. It wasn't his usual polite smile, it was one of genuine surprise and admiration. And then came the climax. The music built like a storm, and Adrian's voice rose higher, higher, until it seemed almost impossible that so much power could come from someone so young. The raw emotion cracked through the notes, not in weakness but in strength. It wasn't perfect in a technical sense, but that imperfection made it real, human, unforgettable. The audience erupted, clapping, cheering, some even crying. Tears streamed down the faces of mothers in the crowd, who saw not just a boy singing, but a child carrying his family's dreams. Backstage, Adrian's parents held each other, sobbing uncontrollably, watching their son transform from a quiet boy into a phenomenon before their eyes. By the time he reached the final line of "Fix You," he wasn't just performing, he was testifying. His voice cracked with emotion, and he let it happen, because that was the truth of his story. He poured out everything he had, leaving nothing behind. The last note echoed through the hall, hanging in the air like the fading glow of fireworks. And then, silence. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. It was as if time itself froze. Then, suddenly, the entire theater exploded in a standing ovation. The audience roared, stomping their feet, clapping until their hands burned. People screamed his name, waving their arms in celebration. The boy lowered the microphone slowly, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He looked out at the thousands of strangers who were now cheering for him, and for a moment, his eyes widened in disbelief. He had dreamed of this moment in his small bedroom back in Davao City, singing into a broken hairbrush as a microphone. Now, it was real. Simon leaned back, exhaling, then looked at his fellow judges with a smile that said it all. This boy is special. The camera zoomed in on Adrian's face, tears welling in his eyes, his lips quivering into the faintest smile. He had given everything, and the world had embraced it. But he had no idea what was about to happen next. Golden confetti had not yet fallen, but in the hearts of everyone inside that theater, it already felt like something magical had taken place. The roar of applause thundered on, a wave of sound that shook the stage beneath Adrian's trembling feet. He stood there, small and overwhelmed, clutching the microphone with both hands as if it were the only thing anchoring him to the earth. His chest rose and fell rapidly, his eyes darting across the sea of faces, thousands of strangers who had just risen to their feet for him. The judges' table glowed under the spotlight. Heidi clapped furiously, her face lit with admiration. Sophia was half standing, her hands pressed against her heart, shaking her head as if words could not contain her emotion. Howie leaned forward, pointing toward Adrian, mouthing, "You are amazing." And then there was Simon. Simon Cowell, known for his unshakable poker face, sat in silence for a long moment. His hands pressed together, Fingers steepled under his chin, his eyes locked onto the boy as if trying to memorize every detail. The cameras zoomed in close, every viewer at home waiting for the verdict, waiting to see what Simon would say. Finally, he leaned toward the microphone. His voice cut through the noise. "Adrian," he began, his tone softer than usual, almost fatherly. "I've been doing this show for a very long time. I've heard thousands of auditions. But what you just did, that wasn't just singing. That was heart. That was genius." The audience screamed, clapping harder, cheering the boy's name. Adrian covered his mouth with his hands, eyes filling with tears. His legs shook, he could hardly believe that Simon Cowell, the man who rarely gave praise so easily, was saying those words to him. Simon continued, his eyes narrowing slightly with intensity. "You took Coldplay, songs that the world knows by heart, and you made them sound brand new. You made them sound like yours. That's not something people your age usually do. That's not something many professionals can even do. You moved us." And then, without breaking eye contact with the boy, Simon's hand slowly reached across the judge's table. His palm hovered for a brief, suspenseful moment above the shimmering golden buzzer button. The crowd caught on instantly. Their screams swelled to a deafening pitch, chanting, "Hit it! Hit it! Hit it!" Adrian's chest tightened. His hands clutched at his jacket, tears already spilling down his cheeks. His parents backstage clung to each other, his mother sobbing uncontrollably while his father shouted, "Yes! Yes! Please, God, yes!" And then, it happened. Simon slammed his palm onto the golden buzzer. The sound of the buzzer blasted through the hall, followed by a surge of dazzling golden confetti that burst from the ceiling. Thousands of shimmering pieces rained down like stardust, swirling in the stage lights. The audience erupted into chaos, people jumping, hugging, waving their arms. The roar was so loud it seemed to shake the walls of the theater. Adrian gasped, covering his face with both hands. He fell to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably as the golden rain fell upon him. His small body shook with emotion, joy, disbelief, gratitude, all mixing into one unforgettable moment. The confetti clung to his hair, his clothes, sparkling against his tears. The judges rose from their seats, clapping and cheering. Sophia rushed to the edge of the stage, shouting, "You deserve this, baby. You deserve it." Heidi was on her feet, beaming like a proud mother. Howie laughed and applauded, shaking his head in amazement. Simon himself stood up, walking to the stage as the audience chanted Adrian's name. He approached the trembling boy, bent down, and placed a hand on his shoulder. The cameras zoomed in close, capturing the moment for millions of viewers around the world. "You're not just a singer," Simon told him, his voice audible even over the cheers. "You're an artist. And tonight, you just changed your life." Adrian sobbed harder, unable to form words. His parents rushed out from backstage, tears streaming down their faces. His mother threw her arms around him, holding him tight, while his father lifted him briefly off the ground, spinning him in joy before placing him back into the golden rain. The confetti continued to fall like a never-ending dream, blanketing the stage in shimmering gold. The boy from Davao City had arrived at America's Got Talent carrying nothing but his voice, his courage, and his love for music. And now, he stood in the center of a storm of celebration, transformed into a star. The audience didn't stop cheering. They clapped, whistled, stomped their feet, creating a rhythm that echoed like a heartbeat across the hall. The chant grew louder and louder, "Adrian! Adrian! Adrian!" For the boy who had once sung Coldplay in his small home, hoping only to comfort his family, this moment felt surreal. This wasn't just a performance anymore, it was a victory for his parents, for his city, for every child who had ever dreamed of standing in the light. As the music swelled again for the golden buzzer replay, Adrian lifted his face to the ceiling, tears mingling with golden sparkles. He pressed his palms together, whispering a silent thank you, to God, to his family, to everyone who believed in him. And as the final shower of confetti rained down, one truth became undeniable: the boy from Davao City hadn't just sung Coldplay songs, he had rewritten his destiny.